Hello, fellow wargamers and history buffs. If you have been following the channel for the last couple of years, you will have noted that on most Sunday evenings, I am playing games from the Battle of the Age of Reason. These are published by Clash of Arms Games, and I think the first one came out sometime in the mid to late 1990s.
I
And
think
over the
so.
course
Yeah.
of time, they have put out a number of others that are dealing with either aspects of the um, 7 Years' War, or the earlier, which was what the
The
battle
War
for
of the
the
Austrian
war for
Succession.
Austria secession, right? And then they have a couple that are dealing with the American War of Independence. And what has prompted me to get involved with this game system is today's special guest, Mr. Michael McAlpin, who has made learning this particular series, which looks from the outside very daunting, has made it very easy and very friendly and everything else. And so as a result, we have decided to do a couple of um, tutorials to help fledgling Battle of the Age of Reason, aka B.A.R players, learn a little bit more how the system works and how to get involved with it and how to play. And so, Michael, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having us here, and thanks for participating in this tutorial session. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, well, we've got 5 people watching right now, and so
Oh, wow.
those of you that are out there in the YouTube universe who are watching this, go ahead and feel free to ask questions during the course of time. But in the meantime, just so we know everything's working, if you could just pipe in and say hi and where you are tuning in from, that would be helpful. That way, we know the comment section is going to be working, so that way we can answer your questions when that happens. But with today's broadcast, we are on StreamYard, which is the one I typically use when we are doing interviews with various and sundry game designers. And I think it'll work out well for this tutorial because you guys will not just have to listen to Michael and myself, you'll actually be able to see our happy smiling faces and our reactions when the die rolls come up with stuff. Hey, we've got Olaf from Tasmania, Australia.
Wow.
Welcome, Olaf. We oh my god, we've got Alec Baldwin's trigger finger
Okay.
tuning in from West Virginia. All right, I thought no. I guess you and I don't need to do any comedy. All we have to
No,
do is
no.
look at
All
the
we got to do is
names of the
read
people
the
who
comments.
are coming in. Exactly. That is got to be the funniest username I have seen in ages there.
You know what you
Sorry,
say?
Olaf, you've been up. Yeah, you've been upstaged by Alec Baldwin's trigger finger of all things. Let's see, we've got somebody else tuning in from Melbourne, Australia. This is Robo Super Channel. I think Robo watches our Sunday night Battles of the Age of Reason stuff. I seem to recall having seen some of his stuff questions posted in the past. So, well, good. Well, welcome, gentlemen. What we're going to be doing today, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's on the program
Sure.
and what we've decided we're going to be doing to help folks learn.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with the very scenario that I started with. Boy, it's probably been quite a few years ago. A good fellow named Paul Borchers, whose name would be familiar to you if you go on the Consim World group for battles from the Age of Reason. Lives locally, and we met up at a North Texas gamers group, and he agreed to sit down with me, and we just went through scenario one from Prague. And scenario one is very clearly, intentionally taking a lot of the rules load off and putting you in a very simple situation where basically you can just exercise the fundamental mechanisms of activating units, well, getting initiative, activating units, moving, shooting, close combat. And then I just thought that was a perfect way to get started because it worked for me. And in the
Yeah.
course of this, what we've agreed is that we're going to play with the B.A.R rules as written. Now, B.A.R is an interesting system because it's got one one set of rules that are extremely well written and extremely well organized so that you can almost always find the rule you're looking for very quickly once you've got the hang of them. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to say, we're going to use just those base rules. One of the ways that we've added flavor to the system over the years is they have added a lot of optional rules that get published separately. And frankly, I play with the optional rules a lot. But in the interest of let's just make this something that people can get their heads wrapped around, we're going to start with just the rules as written. And we'll probably talk occasionally about when you might use an optional rule once you get the hang of the basic rules.
Yeah. So there, if you tune in and you watch our live stream on Sunday, and we just finished up Lobosits a couple of weeks ago.
Part two.
There are, yes, the electric boogaloo. We were using some of the optional rules in that one. And so we thought we'd keep this simple. The nice thing about this particular scenario is that you can set it up pretty easily. When Michael and I were discussing what to present and what to do, I said, hey, well, we can upload stuff where we've got, we're partway through a big battle and we've got all kinds of stuff going on. But because of that, then it might be just a little too much. And then for you, if you wanted to try to play this at home, right, and say, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to set up this scenario and do it, it's easy enough that you guys could do it too. Or if you don't have the game, you can find this. This is a vassal module, and you'll be able then to do everything you need to with the vassal module. The charts and things like that are there. I think the only thing that the vassal module doesn't have are the victory conditions and things like that, where you would need to get the scenario book, or have a friend who might have the game let you know what those scenario situations are.
Excellent. So,
and that is a segue for what?
For getting serious here.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we decided to do is that in the interest of time, we were going to start modified the scenario just a little bit. We've moved the Prussians a little bit closer. This probably works to their advantage because it takes some of the Austrian artillery out of the way. But here's where we are, and you're seeing the screen right now. On the right, you've got a line of Prussian units, and on the left, you've got a line of Austrian units. And you have got artillery on the Austrian side on top and bottom of that line. The objective here is that the Prussians need to advance, and they need to push the Austrians off of the Hummelberg. That's what it's called. And the victory conditions are who has, at the end of the 11 o'clock turn, the majority of the hexes of 3803, 3804, 3805, 3806, 3807. That's funny. I thought 808 was also in there. You might be possible to tie based on that, because there's an even number of them. All right. Well, the truth is, this is an extremely difficult plan for the Prussians to execute. So the truth is, I doubt there's going to be a lot of suspense.
Right.
We're probably going to see the Austrians win. They almost always do, because this is exactly what you shouldn't do in linear warfare, and that is let the other guy be all set up, ready, have his guns ready, and then you go up without any combined arms, no artillery support, no cavalry support. But it does lighten the rules load. So we're going to start on the 940 turn. That's actually one turn after the actual scenario starts, because we did move the Prussians a little bit closer. And then we'll just see how it goes. I'll take the Prussians. Eric will take the Austrians. And we're going to see how much mischief we can get into. So the way we start a turn in in Battles from the Age of Reason is first we need to determine who has the initiative. And in this case, both army leaders are defined in the scenario rules, and both army leaders are defined as having a initiative rating of +3. And because each of them has the same initiative rating, it means that each of us is going to get the same die roll modifier. As each of us rolls a die, whoever gets the higher number gets to decide whether they're going to activate or the other side has to activate. It's their choice who has to activate.
And that's not typical with most of the battles. In most of the battles, it's a case where the Prussians usually have an advantage on the initiative. Maybe they'll get a +1 or 2. On a few occasions, like with Lobositz, the Austrians had an advantage until the Prussians were able to achieve a particular objective. So usually there is some sort of modifier to the die roll, and typically it's in favor of the Prussians.
Right, right. It generally is. So in the actual game, each of us would roll a 10-sided die and then we would compare them. But just out of kind of the interest of keeping things simple, we traditionally use the red and blue die button up there on the toolbar and just roll it once. And of course, the blue die is for the Prussians and the red die is for the Austrians. And so I will just go ahead and do that for this first activation. And so I've rolled a 4-3. The 4 is the Prussians, and the 3 is the Austrians. That means that the Prussians get the choice to activate if they want to. And, let's just think about the situation here. I've got to take that hill, and he's got artillery pieces. Probably it's not going to do me any good to just sit around. And so I'm going to go ahead and decide that I'm going to activate one of my commands. So let's zoom in a little bit here and look at these units here. I have got a leader here. You'll notice he's got a parenthesis around this left number. That's his command range, and that's kind of the dead giveaway. He's a leader of some sort. There's another one here and another one here. One of the things you need to do before you start the game is to figure out your order of battle, figure out what commanders belong to what units. You'll see over here, this fella is...
well, here I brought up the order of battle chart.
Oh, very good.
That is in the game. So here you can see, the commands and the formations for the Prussians. So usually all of the infantry have a movement rate of 4. So it's pretty easy to see what the infantry is. Typically the cavalry have got a movement of 6, and some of the light cavalry have a movement of 7.
Right.
And the leaders are going to have movement of 8 or more, depending on their circumstances. So we're looking here this is Winterfeld's command. So he's got some grenadiers that are part of that. And then who else did we have? We've got, Treschow and Kursel.
Kursel and Treschow, yeah.
Right.
And so I've got 3 commands that I can choose from. And I think you have 2 commands. Is that right?
Yeah, I think just looking at it, I've got the Gaskow's got a bunch of grenadiers, and then it's Peony, I think. No, Preschatz.
Yeah. And so you've got 2 commands. I've got 3. And since I won the initiative, I will go ahead and activate Winterfeld. He's got all of these guys from here down to here. And so the first thing you need to do in any activation is you need to determine who's in command. And command ultimately needs to be traced back to the army leader. The army leader is defined in the scenario. In our scenario, my army leader is Schwerin right here, and then Brown is the Austrian army leader. So I need to be able to trace command from the army leader to the leader I'm activating. In this case, I need to trace, well, that's only 2 hexes. the number in parentheses is the command range.
Right. So
And
Schwerin
so
has a range of 7.
7,
Yep. So
and
he's, yep.
Winterfeld's easily inside that range.
Yeah.
So he's in command. And now we have to determine if Winterfeld's own men are in his command. And so we would use his range. His range is 5. Of course, in this case, again, same thing, right? Those guys are only 2 hexes away. That's 1, 2, 3 hexes away. So everybody in his formation is in command. That's important because there are limitations to what you can do during the movement phase if you're not in command. There are also limitations for individual units if they're not even within reach of their own commander, even beyond just the movement phase. So that's number 1. The next thing we would do is resolve any disorder recovery that might be required. There isn't any disorder. We just started the battle, so there's no reason to worry about that. And then the next thing we do, and this is a little peculiar, because if you've played war games like I have for a long, long time, you're accustomed to moving and then shooting. But in this game, it's exactly the opposite. You shoot, and then you move. Now, again, because these hexes are 100 yards across, and because these guys don't have anywhere near the range to shoot anywhere, I'm going to skip over the fire combat phase. But I could, in another scenario or another situation, go ahead and shoot now. Then I move to the movement phase. The movement phase is such that I'm going to need to move these units or stacks of units one at a time forward. And because they're facing a hex vertex like this, they're in line formation. They need to go out one of their front hexes, and their front hexes are these 2. Or in the case of this unit, it's these 2. Prussians have a special capability that they can move out of either of their front hexes anytime. They can kind of keep going to the left, for example, or keep going to the right. The Austrians have a bit of a penalty in that regard, in that they need to zigzag. They need to go left and then right, or either way, it doesn't matter. But they got to keep going on a zigzag pattern, or it costs them extra movement points. It's just because the Prussians were a lot better drilled, frankly, than most other armies' units. So
Yeah,
I'm going to take advantage.
I think they call it marching in echelon when they're kind of going in that diagonal.
Yeah, or what do we call it? Oblique movement?
Yeah, that could be.
I think that's what the game calls it.
Okay.
I think so. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Now, one of the things I'm going to do before I get too far down the path, though, is I'm going to think about what I want to achieve. Now, remember, the hexes that are of interest range from here to here to here to here. So even though there are a lot of Austrian troops further up, those winning those hexes doesn't do me any good. So I'm going to head straight in this direction. And in order to do that, though, I need to remember that I benefit by having my units in a nice, tidy, orderly line. They gain a morale benefit when they're in a line together like this. So I don't want anybody getting ahead of anybody else. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because you see these green hex sides in front of me. Those are slope hex sides. The terrain effects chart tells me that it's going to cost me an extra movement point every time I cross one of those slope hex sides. And that means that if I'm not careful, some of my units are going to have to go over slopes and others aren't. And I'm going to have to think about, do I want to be in a nice tidy line at the end? Because I'm going to have to move these units individually and then hopefully at the end of the turn have a nice tidy line. And that's just something that we need to think about here.
So, yeah, I have brought up the terrain effects chart.
Oh, that's great.
From the module. So there's a couple of things that we can highlight here for everybody. You've got the column here that indicates the terrain itself, and then it has a little diagram of what it is, and then it also references the specific hex that they're looking at. So if you're not sure that you're reading the thing right, you can go to the north hex, 6314 and see what a marsh hex looks like, for example. So it's very complete. It's very good in that regard. And then
Good.
you can see the cost for infantry if they're in line, what the cost is to enter that hex. If they're in march or road or attack column, what the cost might be to enter that hex. Similarly, then for cavalry in line, or if cavalry is in march, road, or attack column, what the cost is for artillery, skirmishers, and leaders. And then finally, over here, we've got the SCM cost. That has to do with the cavalry charges, and we'll talk about that in a future video. And then finally, you can see here the combat and morale modifiers that those different types of terrain benefit the units. So we have terrain types that actually occupy a hex. So a marsh is fully, the whole hex is a marsh, or a village, the whole hex is a marsh. And then we have things where you're crossing the hex side, like you're crossing a slope or a steep slope or a field work. And so there are modifiers then for entering a particular hex, and there's also then modifiers for crossing a particular type of terrain that might be along a slope. And then you'll also see that there's some notations here, either asterisks or little like T's. I don't know what the terminology is for those, but those are as a reminder that that maybe that terrain blocks a line of sight, or moving through that terrain might trigger a disorder check. So those are some things to keep in mind when you're moving along from one hex to the next. And as Michael was saying, we want to try to keep our guys together because obviously that's the style of combat that they had at the time, was this very linear type of thing. And of course, when you're playing the game, you receive a benefit from following that, in that if you have to make a morale check, if you are in line with your colleagues, you feel the support. Hey, I've got my friends on either side of me. You're more likely, you have a benefit on passing your morale check than if you're kind of all out there on your lonesome. So the game does a great job, I think, of capturing the sort of linear warfare and reinforcing, what would be good behavior and what's not the best behavior. So me as a Napoleonics player coming into this, I'm just like, oh yeah, go here, Gary, and just like, oh no, that does not work. These people do not like it. They have not tasted revolution, and so therefore they're still happy doing it the old-fashioned way. All right. So I've cleared the decks here. You can start to move your units.
Excellent.
Michael.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to start with this unit here at the end of the line, and I'm going to move him like this. I'm going to move him like 1, 2, 3, because I crossed that slope hex side. 4. Now you'll see that my movement allowance is 4 on the unit. However, you can, if you're willing to take a risk, you can perform what's called a rapid march. A rapid march is where you can add up to 50%, rounded down, to your movement allowance, at a risk that at the end of your movement, you need to roll a disorder check. And you need to roll well enough to avoid going into disorder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I don't want to stand out here and get shot at for any greater length of time than I absolutely must. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to move 5 and then 6. That's as far as I can go in one turn. And then I need to roll a disorder check. So why don't we call up the disorder check summary?
Well, why don't you first flip the unit over so we can see
I
what
can do that.
they're...
I have the power. I have the technology.
Yep. So on the front of the counter, the leftmost number is the size of it, that how many increments that are there. And so if you've played La Bataille, it's very similar. It's for each increment about 100 men. And then the movement factor is over on the right-hand side. Here we've got on the back, it identifies the name of the unit And then it also has typically two numbers there. The 20 is its morale value, if you want to think of it that
It's
way.
called the effectiveness rating is the
Yeah.
literal name. It gets used for lots of purposes in the game system.
Yeah. And then the +5 is its benefit in close combat, either
Right.
on attack or defense. So that's what we're looking at here. So in this particular case, this unit has to, its effectiveness rating is 20. Now we are going to have a modifier here for the disorder. So let's take a look at the disorder summary here. And we're doing a movement action disorder. So I brought up the disorder summary
There you go.
chart. And this is
And
a
so
movement action. Yeah.
yeah, and it describes that there are a number of things that could cause a movement action disorder. Moving through, crossing a stream, walking through woods, things like that. Backing up will do it if you're in line. But in this case, rapid march is the thing we're doing. And so we've moved, we've completed the movement, and now we discover whether we've got a problem. And so you see there are ER modifiers listed down there. Uh, Only one of them happens to apply in this case, and that's the one that says, did this stack use rapid march? And in this case, yes, it did. I'm not stacked with with a leader. I'm not already disordered, and I didn't go like over a creek or something like that. So that means I'm going to have a +5 that is added to the number I need to beat. So in other words, I need to roll not better than a 20, which is my base effectiveness rating. I need to roll better than a 25. Or actually, I should say, let me be more clear. I need to roll a 25 or better. And again, we'll go ahead and do that here in the Vassal module with the blue and red die button up at the top. And we will roll, and I'm looking for a high number, and we'll see what we get. And that's
And
a
the number is
71.
71. Yep.
71 is okay. So he's not disordered. However, no surprises. Everybody else behind me is going to have to do this too. So probably somebody's going to end up getting disordered before we're finished. So I'll move the next stack. 1, 2. He doesn't actually need to worry about going over that slope. 3, 4, 5. Now, because he moved 5, he still did a rapid march. It doesn't matter whether you use all of the rapid march capability. The point is I went past 4. And so I do go ahead and need to roll. He's going to probably have a very similar number. Ooh, no, it's a much higher number. So instead of 20, this guy's a 27 effectiveness rating. We'll add 5 to that. So I'm going to need a 32 or better on the die roll this time, which I make.
There you go. You're using up all of the good Austrian fire combat die
You
rolls
know
there,
it,
Michael.
brother. You know it. 1, 2, the next unit here. 3, 4, 5, 6. So I managed to do that with only crossing that one slope. So same thing. Going to have to do a disorder check on him. And we'll just take a look at his number. He's a 26, so I need a 31 or better. And it had to happen eventually, right?
Okay.
So I'm
So
going
you
to
rolled a
flip him
12.
over.
Yep.
And in the Vassal module, I can right click on him and click on morale and then select disorder. And a disorder marker goes on top of him. And
Here, can we undo that real quick so that I can do it? So all they see is
of course.
if I do
No,
it
that
here,
makes
yeah.
perfect sense. Please do.
Yeah. Then you can see unit, movement, morale, and then I can go ahead and select either shaken and disordered, or routed. And so that's when you do. Or if you know the hotkey, you can just click on that too. So
Indeed.
and I played the Austrian so much, I know the hotkeys for routing units because I got so used to that. My cavalry getting ground up.
Next unit's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll go ahead and flip him over. He's good. He's a 21. So a 26 or better will keep him out of trouble. And I'm burning up more of those good die rolls.
Yep. 97, they pass with ease.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go ahead and stop there. Want to maintain the nice linear formation. And then we'll go ahead and roll. Going to need a 29 or better in this case. And he does okay. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for that guy. And he also had to rapid march to get there. He's a 23 effectiveness rating. And so I will need a 28 or better. And it had to happen again.
You went from one end of the extreme to the other there.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would have been okay if I'd rolled 50 every time.
Yeah.
But no, that was not how it worked out.
Well, the vassal gods do not always smile upon you.
So now, if you watched carefully what I was doing there, I was zigzagging just kind of to move around slopes and things. You imagine, though, in real life, that's probably not what was happening. In real life, probably all those battalions were moving at the same time, staying dressed to one another, and they would all have to take the same lefts and rights for good or for ill. Turns out that the base game system rule doesn't really recognize that that's a thing. It is one of the optional rules. It's actually kind of a newer optional rule. I really like it because it feels a lot more real that units that are activating together all can, if they choose to, all advance together in the way you would kind of intuitively expect they would.
Right. The whole line is marching forward instead of a battalion here, battalion there, battalion there. It's all uniform. Yeah.
Sometimes you can kind of game things a little bit by using the units individually because everybody can just bypass a piece of terrain that might slow you down.
Right.
But if you're moving together as a big group, you can't do that. And in real life, you couldn't have done that either. So it kind of makes sense. Now, you might ask the question, well, now, if a leader provides a benefit to the disorder die roll, why don't you just go ahead and have the leader go with one of the units? After all, the leader is still stacked here by himself. Well, this is another thing. It's kind of a funny thing about the game is that I could have moved the leader with one of those stacks, but of course I wouldn't have known. Maybe that was one of those 94s I was going to roll, and it wouldn't have been needed anyway. So what typically players do is they take the leader and move him at the end after other people have had to make disorder checks, because he's going to make it automatic for that disorder to come off at the beginning of their next activation. So unfortunately, I had two of them fail, and he can't be in two places at once. So I'm going to just move him to one of them. Now, leaders move very fast. And as you can imagine, of course they can. They're on horseback, and they're not having to try to keep a formation together. So they can move almost anywhere they want. Truthfully, it's hardly worth counting in most cases how far a leader moves, because as you will see if you look at the terrain effects chart, for most terrain types, the leader only pays a half a movement point. And he's got a movement, in this case, of 8. So clearly, probably not really worth worrying about too much. But because we're going to play it straight, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So he's going to move 1/2 into that hex. The slope costs him 1 movement point, just like it would if you were marching up the slope. So instead of that being 1, that first hex was 1/2, and that being 1, now this hex is actually 2, 2.5, 3, and 3.5. So that's the end of the movement. All the members of his command have now moved. And we would then go to the close combat segment. I'm obviously not close enough to do any close combat, so there's nothing to do there. So I'm just going to mark the leader as having finished his activation by flipping him over. And that's it for that activation. Did I forget anything, Eric?
Well, yeah. The one thing that we do want to talk about is the advantage of having that leader move at the end is at the beginning of his next activation, any unit that he's stacked with that's disordered will automatically recover good order. So
Right.
in this particular case, out of the six battalions that we moved, two of them failed. So at the start of next turn, when we activate Winterfeld again, the unit that he's stacked with will automatically recover from its disorder. The one that's down at the end is going to have to, roll for an effectiveness rating to see if it can recover. Disorder is not the same as it is with La Bataille. It's not so much a morale state as it is the line is out of order. The guys are kind of higgly-piggly.
Right. The
So it's
line
not
is
quite this. Yeah, it's not the same as like they're all freaking out and they want to run away. It's a case
right.
where literally the line is not dressed well and everybody's misbehaving. And the effects of being disordered is for fire combat, you can only fire out half as much as you would normally have.
That's right.
And for attack and defense, we only count half of the increments for the purposes of the odds ratio.
But don't forget the other important one, and that is that it halves your movement as
Oh,
well.
yes. It halves your
So
movement as well.
if that fellow were to fail his disorder check next turn, he'd only be able to move 2 hexes. That'd be awkward. So I'm really kind of counting on him to pass his check. But
Yep.
yeah, the dice will have a laugh at my expense, I'm sure.
Oh, well, it's all about learning, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's see here.
So
And
that
we
was
have,
the end of our first activation.
yeah. So now usually when we're playing on Vassal, we just go back and forth among the different players rolling for the initiative. So I'll go ahead and roll for initiative. I roll a 97. This is another one for you because the blue die is a 9 and the red die is a 7. So another one for the Prussians.
Okay.
And you've got another command you can do, it looks like, where you maybe got 2.
I got 2 left.
Yeah.
I've got Kursel
and
who is here.
Yep.
And then Trescal, who is here. These units are stacked. Unlike the Grenadiers, there was only 1 unit in each hex, but in both of these hexes, or all 4 of these hexes, both of these commands, they're all stacked, which makes them more powerful in close combat, but also makes them a bigger target. So, going to have to think about that. I'm going to go ahead and activate Kursel. It's the one here. Again, what you always do is figure out, is everybody in command? And obviously, in a scenario like this, where there's a relatively constrained field and there hasn't been too much combat, people aren't running away in terror, staying in command is not that hard to do. So we probably won't see a lot of out of command here. Again, remember, Schwerin is the army leader in this scenario. So it's just 1, 2 hexes to Kursel, and Kursel needs to be within 4 hexes of his units. Well, his units are all right here, so clearly they're within 4. So that's pretty well taken care of. Disorder recovery would be next. There's no disorder to recover in this formation. And then there's fire
combat. Nope,
way
no
too
fire
far
combat
away,
yet.
so that ain't happening. So on we go. I will go ahead and ponder how I want to handle these guys here. I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and move these guys together. You can move the whole stack together if you like, or you can move the units individually. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and move the whole stack. It's going to be 1, 2, because I went up the slope. 3, and then 4 takes me there. Do I feel like pushing my luck? Well, of course I do. Don't be ridiculous. 5. So that means I rapid marched. And since I rapid marched, I need to go ahead and do a disorder recovery. Now, this is a disorder check, I should say. Now, there are 2 units in this stack. So how do I do that check? Do I need to check for each unit individually? And the answer is no, because a stack is either disordered or not. If there was a disordered unit and you moved a unit into the hex and stopped, Now you're disordered too because the stack is disordered. So what that means is I'm going to roll for the top unit. Top unit is the one you always roll for almost all of these kinds of checks. So their effectiveness rating is 25. And just for laughs, what's the effectiveness rating of the one on the bottom? It's a 26. Okay. So maybe that's part of the reason those guys are on top, because they're 25. They're
Slightly
just
better.
ever so slightly
One
better.
percentage
1%
point
of the
better.
time
Yeah.
it's going to matter.
Yeah.
So I need to roll a 30 or better in order to avoid disorder here.
And you rolled a 32.
Just did it. So they are not disordered, and that's a marvelous thing. And then we'll move this other stack here. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And because he didn't go up a slope, he actually doesn't have to roll a disorder check because he didn't rapid march. And knowing that, I probably would have been a lot smarter if I had moved Cursel with the original stack, because then Cursel would have been able to help. How would he have been able to help? Well, Cursel has got a couple of numbers, just like the units themselves do. He's got two numbers. One of them is -4. That's his ability to modify the effectiveness rating of the stack he's stacked with. -4 is not a big deal, but it's still better than nothing. The +1 is how much he can influence close combat. So knowing that the other stack wasn't going to have to do rapid marching, I really probably should have left Cursel with them, but I didn't, and that's just how it goes. It's going to be 1.5 movement points for Cursel to go up the slope into that clear hex. That's going to be 2, 2.5, 3, and there won't be any close combat. And so really we're at this point done with that activation as well.
Before we get too far away, I thought I'd mention the other number that's there in the black box, the number 5 in this case. That is the leader's initiative rating. So there are times that the leader maybe will have to make an initiative roll. Sometimes there's special options or special results in the initiative procedure that allow a formation to move a second time, or maybe do fire combat for a second time. And if that's the case, then oftentimes it'll say initiative required. And then you'll pick that formation, or sometimes it's your case where your opponent is picking the formation, if there's sort of a detrimental situation. And then you're going to be making an initiative check, and you're going to try to roll, in this case, a 5 or less on a 10-sided die. So that's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the case with Winterfeld, you see his initiative rating is a 7. So he's only going to fail on a roll of an 8 or a 9. So he's much more of a sort of independent commander, which is why he's down in this part of the battlefield historically for this particular adventure. He's kind of leading the avant-garde here.
Well, and the other time that you really use that initiative rating for those leaders is if they can't trace command back to the army leader. Now, again, that's not that big of a deal in this game because, Schwerin's not very far away. But if Schwerin, I don't know, got hit by a stray cannonball and there was no army leader, then all these leaders would have to put themselves in command. And they would do that by rolling less than that number there, just as you mentioned. So
right.
That's good. That's good.
One more thing here before we wrap things up. You still have one more formation to go. Okay.
Yep, that's right.
Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and roll for the initiative again and see what we get.
All right, that sounds like a winner. I will go ahead and do it this turn just because why not? Uh-oh.
It's a 25, so that's 1 for the Austrians.
1 for the Austrians.
Okay.
I should probably just mention a couple of rules. There are very few special rules that are part of scenario 1, but I just want to call them out here for you. Units can't move south of the road. I'm not even sure which road. It's
probably this road here, right, to Sterbohl?
Probably. It's the road that runs from S7012 to S1005.
Yeah, I would imagine it's this road along here, right?
Yeah, it's bound to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
can't move south of that.
yeah.
All right, and that makes sense. And we can't move north of hex row, the hexes ending with 30. Uh, yeah,
So
in
here's
fact, your
30.
left flank is on that hex row. So,
Yeah,
so we, in other words, just imagine there's a dotted line there that you can't go past. You'll
yeah,
notice that there's an Austrian artillery piece that's
yep,
outside there. And that's another one of the special rules. And that is that the Austrian artillery that sets up in hex 3927, that's that one,
right.
may be activated for fire combat, but may not move or be attacked, which makes sense since it's off the edge of the board.
Can you change its facing?
Well, that's funny you'd say that because that was my first thought.
Because at some
My
point
first,
in time, right,
yeah,
right now it's got a fire path down this way and out
right.
this way, kind of a cone shape. Um, but if it's a case where once you move those guys, then I'd never be able to fire at them again if I
I,
can't
I have
change
a
my
hard time.
orientation.
I have a hard time believing you wouldn't be allowed to turn them. It
Yeah.
did say move, and turning movement.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm not
know.
actually
It
spending
seems
any
weird.
move. Well, you are, I guess, spending a movement point to turn, right? Actually,
Actually,
no,
no,
you're already unlimbered.
because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because unlimbered artillery really doesn't have any movement points, but they are permitted to turn one hex face um, during the movement segment. So I think I would argue that it would be okay for them to change facings,
Okay,
just not actually leave the hex they're in.
cool. All right.
Okay.
So for me, I've got two commands. I've got Gausco and his grenadier force that is here,
Hmm.
waiting to receive the Prussians. And then I've got this other group of infantry here. And then I've got the guns. Now, the guns are independent. So if you look at the um, order of battle for the Austrians, and same thing if you're looking at the order of battle for the Prussians, you'll see oftentimes independent units listed. Sometimes these are for the Austrians, they tend to be ones like Grenzers, which are their
Skirmishers.
skirmish type of infantry.
Yeah.
They'll have sometimes some independent cavalry. And in this particular case, in almost all of the games, the artillery is also considered independent. So that means you can move it and fire it when other formations are activated. Um, and so it has a little bit more flexibility than if it was attached to a specific formation. You can only move it or fire it during that when that one is activated. So I'm going to go ahead and activate uh, whatever this guy's name is, P.R.Y. Preshash, Preshash,
Praise
Presash,
shock. Praise
Presach.
shock.
Yep, we'll have the good Hochdeutsch there.
Okay, very good.
And then I'll activate this artillery so we can fire at. Whoops, yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah, so we can fire at your guys that are down here. And then I will also activate the artillery that's down here at the end of the line so they can get in a position to do a little bit more damage, maybe. Once again,
Right,
this guy's facing the wrong way to do anything this turn. So,
right.
yeah,
So,
so let's,
so to be clear,
yep,
independent units are able to activate when any formation is activating, but they can't activate by themselves. So, if you win the initiative, you have to name a command that you're going to activate, and then you can also choose to add independence with them.
right. I couldn't just, with the winning the initiative, say, oh, I'm going to activate this one single artillery unit.
Yeah,
I'd have to activate a formation with cavalry or infantry or whatever the case is. It's got to be a formation. And then
right,
I could also activate the guns. And it could be that I'm activating guns that are on the other side of the battlefield from
right.
the formation that I'm
Yeah.
actually activating. So
It's
in
kind
a
of
case like Prague,
intuitive
you've
that
got a
you'd
big,
kind of,
yeah,
yeah, it's intuitive that you might think that you're going to just activate units that are in some way related to your formation, but there's no requirement for it.
Right. So I'll go ahead and fire this guy first. So we're at a space of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Now,
7, 8.
to be clear, let's just walk it down there. We need
Yep.
to make sure that you've who's in command.
This guy here.
That's actually the first step of this.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
just
Okay.
walking through the order of the turn, we need to figure out who's in command. So
Right. So
your army leader
there's
is
Brown,
Brown.
and he's 10 hex range. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Preshak is 6 away. That's well within the range of 10 that Brown has for his command. And let's take a look then at Preshak's infantry forces. He's got a range of 4, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 battalions, and they're all within either 1 or 2 hexes of himself. And technically, we could say that even this one that's out here is within 1 of it because
Exactly.
he is adjacent to his colleague. They're part of the same regiment. So when you have 2 battalions that are adjacent to each other, for the purposes of command, you count them as just a single hex, even though
Now,
they may occupy 2 hexes or more.
I don't know how clear that is to the folks at home. Maybe they've got 84-inch televisions, in which case maybe they can see it very clearly. But you can see that those 2 units there, the two battalions at the very left end of the line, have the same coloring. They're both kind of got the green belts and the green background on a white field. But you'll see that on the left it says, what is that? LRI?
LRI. So let's flip it over, and they are the Los Rios Fusiliers.
Oh,
Yes.
and then you'll notice that in that case there's a 2 on the right side
Right.
under
So it's
PY.
the
PY is the name of the leader to which they belong,
yep.
and then the other unit's got a 1.
Yep.
So that's how you know that those 2 are actually the same regiment, 2 different battalions in the same regiment. And for command purposes, as long as they're adjacent to each other, it doesn't cost an extra hex to go to the other unit. So,
Well, and actually, if we're looking at it this way, I really only have 1 Austrian command. Gausko he looks like is he a wing leader? What's his story?
no. So for the purposes in this game, he is a special leader, and in the other scenarios, there's some more rules about him. In this
Okay.
scenario, he's simply the command leader for the
For
grenadiers.
those grenadiers. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
because I
really
was
do
looking
have
at it, I'm just like, whoa.
2 commands there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So I would activate this chap, right? Everyone's in command. That matters. The artillery does not need to be within the command radius of this commander in order to be activated.
They
And so,
don't need to be.
yep.
Independent units are kind of interesting because independent units can become in command in a variety of ways. One of them is if they happen to be within the command of the commander who's activating. Like imagine that the artillery unit was here instead of here. Well, then 1, 2, 3, 4. He would be in command just by virtue of being within reach of the activating commander. However,
Well, in this case, he is actually in command, right? Because if this counts as
if you're
1,
counting
because
that as
it's
1, yeah,
yep, because it's the
yeah.
same regiment, then this is then 2, 3, and 4. So technically, that
Then,
artillery unit is in command of Preshak.
okay, so then the other consideration is that there are some leaders who aren't command leaders. A command leader is a leader who has his own command. There are wing leaders and army leaders who are not command leaders. And an independent unit can trace to any non command leader. Doesn't have to be one who's activating right now, can be, but it isn't required. And so if you think about it, it's going to be really easy for all this artillery to be in command because Brown is a non command leader and he's got a command radius of 10, which is a bunch. So the artillery down south is easily within the 10 hex range. And so everybody's in command who's activating right now. All right. Then
Yes.
we would do disorder recovery. Of course, there's
I
no
do not
disorder
have any
recovery
disorder
to do.
recovery yet. Give me time.
Now we do fire combat.
All right. So
What
now
we've all
this
been
chap.
waiting for.
Yeah. So I'm going to fire right down the line here and hit this chap here. So
All right.
first, what we need to do at a range of 8, we need to find out. I've got 2 increments in this battery. So we have to go here to our handy dandy chart, and we're going to find out at this particular range what my fire multiplier is for my 12-pound guns at a range of 8. And here it's saying that it's times 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. The fire defense for you in the clear is 10. So the odds are 8 to 10. And then we do have, I believe, a modifier because we are on a slightly higher elevation than you are. So I think we get a plus 10 on the die roll, and then we might also get a plus 10 for the size of the stack that's there. You got 14 increments. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a special rule in Prague, which we would certainly would apply here, that would give you an extra +5 for every level of elevation you are above your target.
Oh, it's +5. Okay.
Yeah, and you can see this contour line that goes running along there. It has a 3 on it. That simply means to say that the land to the left of that line is higher than the land to the right, which is at elevation 2. So you would get a +5 for the elevation difference, and then we would also get an advantage because of the size of the target. So if we look at that stack, the stack
you have
has
14
strength
increments.
points
Yeah,
in it.
strength points. Yeah.
So if you look at the fire combat table, 14 strength points means that there's a target size modifier. Think about it. It's easy to hit somebody because there's so many people packed in the hex, and so that's going to be another +15. So the elevation difference and the size is going to mean +20 on the 1 to 1.5 column.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and chuck our little pair of dice here and see what we get. And we rolled a 54. That's going to be modified to a 74.
It's a 74.
And that just falls short of hitting anything. It's got a little R result.
It does. And it's funny because, of course, I don't use the R very often because it is in the basic rules as written. I use an optional rule that's different, but it doesn't matter. Let's talk about what that R means. That's a return fire result. So there's no impact to the defender, but the defender gets to shoot back at you. Well, obviously in this case it's kind of meaningless because I can't shoot 8 hexes. In fact, I can only shoot 2. So no real meaning, but that's what that R is for. If we were standing face to face and that R came up, then I would have gotten to do return fire right away, even though it's not my turn.
Right. So if it was a case, if this happened with my infantry firing on your infantry, then that would trigger a.
That's right.
Yeah. Grim Harbinger asked, what's the size of the hexes in B.A.R again? Is it sort of standard Labatai size, about 100 yards?
It's 100 yards.
Yeah.
So about 100 yards. And then the strength points for infantry units are 100 men.
Right.
So you've got 700 men in these 7-4 units. So there's 1,400 men packed into this hex that was just fired at.
Yep.
And with cannon, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember how many individual cannon strength point translates to. I'd have to go look that up.
All right. So what I'll do, so after I fired, this unit has the potential of doing something called prolong. So that means that it can fire and it can move. Many of the artillery pieces can't do that. They might have an F, but not a F and a P. So the F means it can fire, but if you're going to move it, you've got to limber it up to get it to do anything. So in this
It's
particular
pushed.
case, after I've or you instead of firing, you can move it, but you can't do fire
Well,
and move.
of course, remember, he can't move.
He can't, but I'm just going to
Right.
pivot him, right?
Yeah.
So
All right.
he's now facing this way. So
Right.
now as those Prussians move forward, I'll be able to catch him in the flank. Now
Sure.
to make sure that so we know that he's already done his activation, so we don't end up firing him again, we're going to mark him as finished. And so it puts a little mark on top of him indicating that he's finished. So you do this with any of the sort of independent units, so that way you don't inadvertently activate them for a second time. All right,
Yeah,
now we move down to what's
strictly
that?
speaking,
Strictly speaking.
we should have done fire combat for all the artillery units before you moved any of them, but that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
Just remember what keeping it in order.
There we go. We've
So
got
the
Jeff
other
from Hex
units,
to Hex signing in. Hi, Jeff. So, yeah. So now we're going to go down here. We're gonna have these chaps take a shot. They are 3-pound guns, and
ooh,
they're at a range of 3. So 3-pounders at a range of 3. We'll go back up to our handy dandy chart, and we will find out what our multiplier is. And for the 3-pounders at a range of 3, it's times 2. So not much. They kind of go pow.
uh,
They
two
kind of go
two
burp
times
burp.
one is only going to be 2, which would be a 1 to 5 shot,
Yeah.
and that's not
So
even enough for 1 to 3.
so if the odds are lower than what factor, you just throw it out altogether.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If you can't even reach 1 to 3 odds, then it doesn't apply at all. There are, again, some special rules that people do in certain games, some optional rules that permit it, um, and mostly you're doing it just because historically, like at Battle of Fontenoy in the
Right.
Battle of the War of the Austrian Succession, that's exactly how one of the English commanders gets whacked
Right.
by incredibly long range fire early in the day, and so there is an optional rule that allows it, but standard rules, if you can't get a 1 to 3, then
Yeah, it's not going to
sorry,
happen.
no
So
fire.
yeah, so what I'm going to do is instead I'm just going to have this guy prolong backwards, so he'll end up stacked with this grenadier, and that way
Yep.
then that's going to help with the firepower there on the end of the line.
Right.
And so we can then mark him as finished. And then this chap here doesn't have anything in his arc of fire, so he can't fire. So we're just going to have him pivot. So now in subsequent turns, he's going to be able to fire into this line of Prussians as they come forward, in theory. And we'll mark him as finished. And we're done with that. Now we go back up now to the infantry that we had originally activated, this chap here. And right now, I don't see a lot of purpose for us to do anything with them. They're in a pretty good spot. We're just going to kind of wait and see what the Prussians decide to do. And if there's a opportunity in the future for us to move down from where we're at right now, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll just kind of hang out there. So in this case, I don't have anything for them to do. So we're just going to go ahead and flip those guys over. And so that's it for me.
Okay.
Go back to initiative. I'll go ahead and chuck some dice. And it's a 32. So that's 1 for the Prussians. So you have 1 activation left.
Right.
And that is Treshkow.
Tresco. All right. So Tresco will determine that he is in command because he's within 7 hexes of Schwerin, and his units are all within 1 hex of him. So everybody's in command. That much is pretty easily understood. And then we will ponder exactly how we want to proceed.
And as
No
usual,
disorder to recover from, and no close combat or no fire combat to do
yep.
because no one's close enough for that. And so now I need to figure out how I'm going to get my guys forward so they can pursue mayhem at your expense. Okay. All right. So in this case, I'm going to split these stacks up and I'm going to move them separately. And so I'm going to move the top unit there and I'm going to turn him. That's actually the first time we've turned. So I guess I'll mention that. In general, turning costs you 1 movement point to turn. All the units in a hex have to have the same facing at the end of their movement. So right now, obviously, they're not in the same facing. So one of those two has to leave the hex. And don't you worry, I'm going to anyway. But I've spent 1 movement point, now 2, now 3, now 4, now 5. I'm going to go ahead and do 5. So that means I've rapid marched. So I'm going to double check. He's a 28. So I need to roll a 33 or better to avoid disorder. And he is disordered. It's a penalty to be paid. So then I will take the other unit. He's going to turn. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe I'm going to stop being so cute and I'm going to stop rapid marching so much. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this other hex and I'm going to do the same idea. I'm going to split them up. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on this last hex, I will do 1, 2, 3, and just leave it at that. And I'm going to go ahead and move Triskow to go take the place where the disordered guy is. And then there's something that we hadn't really considered before is army leaders are kind of like an independent unit in the sense that they can activate with any activation. They activate with any activation just like an independent unit would. And in this case, I don't really need to move right away because all of my commanders are still within 7 hexes of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like to that one. So I don't need to move him, but realistically, I'm going to have to next turn in order to make sure that everybody stays in command. So that's going to be it for that last activation for me.
Well, and one thing to point out is now that all of your commands have activated, you can't move that army leader, can you?
No, that's correct.
So you would either have to have
him.
moved him during this activation of Treshkow, or he's stuck where he's at.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So just keep that in
stuck
mind.
there.
Yeah.
For the remainder of the turn. Of course, there's only 1 activation left in the turn, and that's the one that you're about to get.
Go ahead, chuck the dice.
I will chuck the dice.
And
Okay, that's a
another
48, which is a win for the Austrians from an initiative perspective. But the truth is, since the Austrians are the only ones who have a command that hasn't activated, even if it had been an 84 and I had won the initiative, I was going to have to let him activate.
Right. So at this stage in the game, I don't really need to do anything exciting. I'm just going to keep waiting for you to come up and run into my guys that are defending. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip over Gascow, and I don't need to move Brown. Everybody's happy. So that's it for me. So we're kind of done with things as far as activations go and initiative goes.
Right.
So what's our next phase?
So having gone through all the activations so that every unit's had a crack at activating, you then go to what's called the rally phase. And the rally phase is where units attempt to remove bad morale states.
So like shaken and routed.
Or being routed.
Yeah.
It's easy to confuse that with disorder. So there's actually kind of 2 different dimensions in the B.A.R system. One of them is degrees of organization, and that's what disorder represents. And the other is morale states. Shakenness means the men are unsteady. They're not sure about the situation they found themselves in. It is possible to be both shaken, that is to say, disorganized, and, excuse me, disordered, meaning disorganized, and shaken. And then the worst of all conditions, though, is rout, where you actually just hightail it for the edge of the battlefield and get the heck out of there. Um, so the only things that we're going to rally from during the rally phase are rout and shaken. And there aren't any routed or shaken units on the map right now, so we can skip the rally phase and we can then go to the end turn, which is when you flip all the units back over, flip the leaders back over to their front side, and advance the clock on the where's the turn track? I'm sure I got it right
There
here.
it is. So
There we
now we're
go.
going to the 10 o'clock turn.
10 o'clock turn. That's right. And then we will start again at the top of the hour by rolling initiative and continuing on. I think it's very likely to say there's going to be a little bit more action this turn.
That's what we're hoping. That's
That's
what all of our viewers are hoping for.
that's it. They're ready with their thumbs up, thumbs down. They're just ready.
All right. I'll go ahead and roll. And it's a 1-6. So it's one for the
That's
Austrians.
not good.
So what we're going to do is we're gonna fire our guns here a little bit. So this one here.
Who are you activating?
Oh yeah. It's the old. Who are you going to activate today? I'm going to activate Gascow, right?
Okay.
And so I will activate that artillery piece, and I will activate. Oh, and I'll activate this one here too, just for fun.
Sure.
So get them all out of my system. So we'll go ahead and have this one that's here on top take a shot. And I think everybody's on the same level now, right? Yeah, I'm on level 3. Your guys are on level 3, it looks like, over here.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
getting
So I'm
that
not going to get the
benefit.
plus for that, and you're not a big fat stack anymore, so I won't get a plus for that. So I'll go ahead and I'll fire on this guy here in the middle. What the heck? Just to have some
Okay.
fun. So you've got a
However,
fire
well, let's
defense
see
of 10,
what's your
and let's
range.
see. Yeah, let's see what the range is. So let's get our handy dandy little thread of destruction. It looks like it is a range of 9. A range of 9.
So that
if
is.
we look at our chart, our 12 pounders at 9, still times 4. So I'm going to have 8 to 10. So it's 1 to.
But wait.
1, 2. But wait, there's more.
You've forgotten something.
I have.
And that is because, again, remember what these formations look like. These formations are really wide and thin.
Oh, yes. You're in line formation.
You're actually firing into the flank of this unit, meaning you're firing down the long line of it.
Yes.
Which
yes,
means
indeed.
that if you do hit, you're way more likely to do a lot of damage. I kind of think of knocking down bowling pins. And so you get. Now, again, we're playing the rules as written. And so there's a difference in the rules as written from the way we generally play. And you'll see that here under fire multiple modifiers on the fire combat chart down in the bottom right. It says target enfiladed. Target enfiladed increases the fire modifier by 1. So your fire modifier at range 9 was times 4.
Right.
Because you're firing into my flank, it becomes times 5.
Okay.
2 times 4 was 8.
Right.
2 times 5 is 10.
10. So now we're on 1 to
target
1.
in clear terrain has a defense of 10. So it went from being 1 to 1.5 to being 1 to 1. And I don't think there's any die roll modifiers, as you
Nope,
were saying.
no modifiers. So we'll just go ahead and chuck the dice and see what we get.
Yep.
And we rolled a 0-5. We
Ooh.
got special results. That's our first
So
special result.
so the reason for that is because anytime you fire and you roll a 0 as the leading digit, there's a chance that something special has happened. And so we need to call up the special results table and look under artillery fire for the Austrian option. What is it? Number 5.
Yeah, it says 0-5. So it says caisson explosion. Re-roll, and if target or an adjacent hex includes artillery, add +1 SP loss to the artillery.
Okay.
So this one doesn't really matter because I'm
There's no
not
artillery.
firing on any artillery and there's none that's adjacent. So
Right.
we will just re-roll and deal with whatever the result is. So let's go ahead and re-roll and see what we get. And it's a 19, and that's not
Oh,
enough
well.
to do anything. So
Oh,
that takes care of that. So those Austrian guns are not really doing anything too exciting at this point. So we're just going to go ahead
I
and
have every confidence in
yep,
them.
we're just going to go ahead and mark them as finished, and then we're going to go down to the end of the line. Here we've got a little bit better with this chap here. He can fire, and he'll fire on this chap here on the end. We're at a range of 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes. We are at a slightly higher elevation, so we will get the +5 for that. And I don't think we're really coming in on your flank per se. It's kind of,
No, you're not.
yeah, 50-50 there between the two. So I think in that case, it kind of would go in favor of shooting into the line face on. So at a range of 4, let's check and see what our fire multiplier is. And for those 12 pounders, it's 8. So we are going to be firing 2 increments. So that's going to be 16, and your fire defense is 10. Right. So now we are on the 1.5 to 1 chart with a +5 to the die roll. No other modifiers for the size of the combat unit. So we're just going to chuck our dice and see if we do something better than what we've rolled before. Oh, a 97.
That's quite a bit better.
So a
actually.
97 with a +5. That's going to put it over 100. That's going to put it into, what are we at? We're at 102. So it's going to be 2 hits, and then it has here, it's / morale check +10.
So it is 2 hits. That's the one thing we know for sure.
Yep.
So you want to go ahead and show how you increment there?
Sure. As far as doing the damage to the unit. Yeah. So here you would go, you could right click and then go to increments lost. It then automatically puts a little hit underneath it. And then you're going to go here and you're going to then increase it. So now it's 2 hits. So we added a hit to it, a hit marker to it, and then we upped the hit marker. So it's 2. So this unit now, when you're looking at it, it's got its printed value is 6, but it's got 2 hits on it. So we know now it only has 4 left.
Right. Now, the other thing that was there was a possible morale check with a +10 to the effectiveness rating, and however, that only applies if the die roll that was the original die roll was an even number.
Right.
So
So
you
the
rolled a
modified die roll is
Right.
102,
Right.
but the original die roll is a 97. So
Right.
the modified number is even, the original is odd. So if the original is an even number, if I'd rolled a 98 or I'd rolled a 96, then that morale check would come into play.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but hey, we got 2 hits on you, so we're not gonna laugh too much about that. We'll take our joy from that as the Austrians. We'll just go ahead and mark these guys as
Joy.
finished.
It's an interesting choice
And
of word.
well, what can you do? All right, and so that is going to do it for that. I'm not moving Gascow anywhere else, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip him over. That command is done. And now we would go back up to initiative, and it's your turn to throw the dice for the initiative.
Okay, I can do that. I have the power. I have the technology.
It's a
And I also
76,
managed to
so
win.
that's the Prussians have the initiative.
Okay.
So you either have the choice of doing something with that, or you could pass it to me. Is that
That's
correct?
right. I could. No, and since your artillery is already fired, I'm not really sure. Why not? But I don't really see any great advantage to letting you. Um, I don't see any reason not to.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. It's my choice, and we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Well, and on the previous turn, right, when you were further away, before you
Mhm.
moved, you could have given me the initiative.
That's
And
true.
that would have forced me to use my 2 activations, and if I didn't fire my guns at longer range, I couldn't have done anything with them anyway, right?
Exactly.
So
That's right.
so there is some gaminess or some strategy
Absolutely. Yeah.
to sometimes thinking about this situation where, like, you're marching up, and if you can force the other guy. So even in this case, right, if it's a case where you're thinking that I might at some point, not this turn but in a subsequent turn, like, counterattack you,
Right.
you might have me go first to force me to either stay where I'm at or commit to my counterattack, in which case then you're still holding back so you can reply to it, as opposed to you move everybody and then now, oh, I can counterattack you and you don't have any options left, kind of a thing. So
Exactly.
there's some different options for the players. All right. So it's your initiative. What are
Right.
the Prussians going to do?
Well, I'll go ahead and activate Winterfeld. And again, what am I doing with Winterfeld? Well, um, he needs to demonstrate that he's in command. He is
Right.
6 hexes away from Schwerin, so he's in command. All of his troops are within 2 hexes of him, left or right. Well, I take that back. This guy's 3 hexes away, but you
Yeah.
get the idea. Everyone's certainly within 5, so everybody's in command. And so then we will move on to disorder recovery. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the fact that Winterfeld is stacked with this unit that has a disorder marker on it means that the disorder comes off automagically, as I like to say. You don't need to roll. And so I just remove the disorder from him without having to do anything. But in the other case, this unit up here, I'm actually going to have to roll. And so if we go to the disorder summary table, we will see that there is, where is it? There it is. It's type G. So it's kind of halfway down the right side of the page.
Yep.
Disorder recovery is what we need to do here. It's a kind of disorder check, but it's a disorder check where you're actually trying to remove disorder. And so if you pass, you're not disordered. If you fail, you stay disordered. And then there are a couple of modifiers. One of them is +10 if you're in an enemy zone of control, which I'm not. +5 if your stack is already disordered. That one seems a little kind of obvious, but
Right.
whatever. The point is +5 is always there. And then automatic recovery if a leader is present. So in this case, this unit is a 23,
23.
and he's going to be operating against a +5. So he needs to do a 28 or better in order to recover. That is a lot of not better.
Right. So that's not a special result because on this one, it's
Exactly.
just a straight up whatever you roll is what you get. Yeah.
That's right. Usually, when you see a 0 as the leading number in a die roll like this, you think special result right away. Recoveries and rallies don't have special results. There are a few different types of things where that 0 doesn't have any meaning, other than that was just a really lousy roll. So that means he remains disordered. And what's the effect of that? He can only move 2 rather than 4 movement points this turn. He can't rapid march, so he can't stretch that out to 3. So he's really going to be slowed down relative to the rest of the outfit, and that's really too bad. But that's what you get for rapid marching. So well.
All right.
So so then let's see. We would then get to fire combat. I'm still too far away to fire, so that's not going to happen. So then I will go ahead and do movement. And movement, I'm going to do. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my not quite organized fellas here.
They're going to be the reserve around
Yeah,
which you guys are going to rally.
that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, in the interest of doing something, I'm just going to proceed. So I'm going to start with this unit here. I'm going to go 1, and then I'm going to go 2. Now, when I enter an enemy zone of control, it costs. Oh, actually, that's an interesting question. It's almost always that it's just 1 more than it usually is. I don't know if that's the actual rule that it's +1. Probably is. I don't
Yes.
think it's. I don't think it's doubling. I think it's just +1. In this case, though, it really is just going to be +1. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and now he is in an enemy zone of control and adjacent to the enemy. However, as I was leaving this hex, these grenadiers get a chance to shoot at me as I'm moving into this hex.
Right.
It's called opportunity fire, and opportunity fire is a time when the defender gets to shoot at the attackers that are approaching.
Right.
Because there's relatively short ranges in this game, there's not that much opportunity fire going on, but it does happen. Now, in this case, when I was in that hex, I was visible to these guys, and these guys. And units in line can fire as many as 4 strength points worth of their strength. So you might think about it that these are 8 strength point units. You might think that actually the battalion's in 2 lines, where there's one set of folks in front and another set that are behind them 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards. So they, of course, are unable to see. And so only the guys in the front row are able to fire. So that means you've got 12 strength points you could fire at me at 2 hex range. The important thing to remember about opportunity fire is it's when I'm leaving this hex.
Right. And so my grenadiers have a multiplier of ×2 at a range of 2.
That's right.
So we're going to be, if we have 12 increments ×2, that's going to be 24. 24 to your fire defense of 10 is going to be 2 to 1. We don't have any other modifiers. The plus fire for the range thing only, or for being on the higher elevation, only modifies artillery,
Right.
and that's a Prague special rule, so that's not
Right.
universal. So we're looking at on the right side of the chart for the results, and we're at the 2 to 1. So we're just going to chuck the dice and see what we get here. 2 to 1, we get a 14. That is what we call a pretty bad roll, and that basically just is a blank result. Nothing happens.
Big fat nothing.
Yeah, big fat nothing. So that was a chance for us to blast you. No such luck.
Okay. Next unit then will move, and he moves a 1, 2, 3, 4. So the same thing happens, sorta. As I leave this hex, I am visible to these guys at 2 hex range, and half of these guys at 2 hex range. Half because, after all, this unit is blocking the line of sight, so that only half of these guys can see these guys. So instead of having 12 guys shooting at me, now I'm going to have 4 and then 2,
Two.
or a
Yep.
total of 6. Again, range of 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. So it's 1 to 1.
1 to 1. No pluses, no minuses. Let's see what we get. Ooh, a 93 at 1 to 1.
We get a hit.
That is going to be a hit. It says a D for disorder, so a disorder check, and then it's got
Right.
an M as well.
Okay, so let's take a look at that, because you probably were doing that and didn't even realize what you were doing, or you didn't announce what you were doing. If you are conducting opportunity fire or defensive fire, you actually use the combat results on the right side of the
Yes.
chart. If
Yeah.
you're firing in your turn, you use the combat results on the left side. You'll notice that there really isn't a difference between them, except there are disorder results that happen when you're firing at the enemy during his turn. That's really what's happening on that right side.
Yep.
So because I'm moving and I got shot at, well, that means I have a chance to take disorder. Now, I have already moved into this hex, and now I do the disorder check. Now, let's go look at the disorder check page, the disorder summary.
Right. And this is going to be opportunity fire results.
Right. So it's type C. So it's an opportunity fire result. So
there's no modifier unless you were already disordered or you had a leader stacked with you.
Okay. And so that's simple enough. We'll just go ahead and roll. And you might wonder why I went ahead and rolled. Well, the truth is, happens pretty quickly as you start playing the game. You get the hang of what kinds of numbers these units are. And of course, we've already seen all these units because they've already rapid marched. They were all between 20 and 30. So if you roll an 87, there's no point in flipping the unit over. You know he passed the disorder check. If he hadn't passed the disorder check, he'd be in that hex, exactly where he is, marked as disordered, and that would limit his fire combat capability and his close combat capability. Good times.
All right. Keep it
All
going.
Right. Oh, yeah, we're going to keep it going, brother, because why not? So I will go ahead. I think I'm going to try to decide what I'm going to do. All right. We're just
in for a penny, in for a pound.
In for a penny, in for a pound. That's right. So we're going to go 1, 2, and now here's where it gets dicey. Oh, do I really want to do that? I actually have a decision to make here, because I really could do this same thing, which limits your ability to shoot at me, but then I have to rapid march to get to you, because it's going to cost me 3 to enter that hex, which means I'd have to take another disorder check.
Or if you went here 1, 2, 3,
that's right.
Or 3, 4, you'd avoid the slope, but then you'd be open to fire from all of these guys.
That's right. So that's an interesting one. My troops are good. I'm just going to take a chance and hope that it works out. So he has to rapid march to get there. And because he has to rapid march at the end of his movement, I'm going to have to roll a disorder check. However, remember, the opportunity fire happens when I leave the hex that's 2 hexes away. So actually, the opportunity fire happens first.
Right. Okay. So once again, we've got 4 plus 2 because this guy is partially blocking it. So we're going to have 6. So we're once again back to the 1-to-1 thing. And then we'll just go ahead and roll the dice, see what we get. We roll a double aught.
Okay.
That is a special results. So we go to special results and we go to infantry fire. Double aught is free fire. Roll 2 times and the firing units are disordered. Oh, that could be problematic.
Well, it could be problematic for sure. So a couple of things there. So you see that there's a 0 and 0 has an asterisk next to it.
Yep.
So that asterisk means that we need to roll on the leader loss table, which is just further down on this page. And I'm not really sure what order you need to do all this in, but probably ought to just go ahead and roll on the leader
Yeah.
loss table
So we
just to
roll
get
one a single die, see what we get. We roll the 0. So this is
away.
fate.
Okay.
So this is pick any enemy leader. So that could be Frederick the Great on the other side of the battlefield for from where this is happening, right?
If you were in
Yeah,
this
if he was in
scenario,
this
yeah,
scenario, but I mean, for
exactly.
example,
Yeah.
that's what we've done before, where we've tried to take a
Yes,
pot shot
absolutely.
at army leaders. This is the only way, really, army leaders run the risk of getting killed
Yeah,
is
as
through
in
one of these
practice.
rare things.
Yeah, you're
So
never going to get
let's
close.
say we're gonna take out Schwerin. Why not?
Sure, why not? He got
So
whacked at this battle anyway,
he
so
did, yeah. So did Winterfell.
this,
So
this is his time.
so if we roll a 0, he's killed. If we roll a 1, he's wounded, and then anything else is no effect. So let's roll another die again, see what we get. A 4. Phew,
Okay,
it just
no effect.
no effect, nothing
All right.
exciting. So now
So
we go back to
back to
our
the
fire
free fire.
combat.
Yep.
We've got now we're going to roll 1-1, but we're going to roll twice, and so we see what we get. A 0-1. That's
Now it's
another
important
special
to
result.
remember
Yeah,
you can never get a special result on a special
on a
result.
special result. So that
So
one is just
because
a lost shot,
that's
and then
right.
a 77.
Okay, that's a
And at
hit.
1-1, a 77 is a hit, and it is a disorder check,
All
but it's
right.
not an even number, so it's not a morale check.
That's right, exactly. So I need to do a disorder check, and I will do that now. Okay. Now again, remember there's no modifier on it, and of course you remember my guys were, what is he, at 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he easily passes that. But now remember, he had to rapid march to get there. So
Right.
now that he's completed his movement, I have to do the disorder recovery. And the disorder recovery there has a +5 modifier for rapid marching. So I need a 31 or better in order to avoid disorder there. Okay.
And you
And I
roll a
do
51,
manage
so
to
you're
avoid
fine.
disorder. So that was
Right.
not a bad thing. Okay. Wow. This is amusing. All right. Well,
It
then
is,
on
and
we go.
that's the joy of bar is everything looks fine and dandy until you roll a 0.
Yeah. And then just all chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. The next guy's going to move 1, 2, and then 3, 4. Am I going to do that?
Yeah, come on.
No, I don't think I am.
But my guys are disordered.
Um,
Oh, Grimm's asking why did the Austrians go disordered? So the roll that I did when I rolled for the fire combat, it was a special result 0-0. It was free fire, so I get to fire twice, potentially doing more damage to you. But the downside is all the units that were involved in the fire combat are disordered. So that's why those 2 units are disordered, because they were the 2 units that were firing in that opportunity fire portion. So
right. All right. So I'm going to mix it up here a little. So I've moved 2 to
yep.
get here, and then I'm going to move there.
Ooh.
Now, he's still subject to opportunity fire as he leaves this hex.
Right. So I've got 4 for that guy, and then I've got this guy is halved because
So
he's
just 1.
disordered, so it can
Right.
only be 2. And then is he halved again because of the
Yeah,
blocking?
because he's blocked, right?
Right.
So only
So I
5
have
strength points
5.
can fire. So it's still 1 to 1.
It's still a
It
1-to-1.
really
So let's
doesn't
go
really
back
change
up
that
to our
much.
handy dandy chart. We'll chuck some dice. 1-to-1, no pluses, no minuses. We rolled an 85 on the 1-to-1 chart. That's going to
Hey,
be
that's
good for
pretty good
another
roll.
hit and
That's
another
another
disorder check.
All right. Now, all right. So I've given him that 1 increment there,
Yep.
And here's where the risk came in, and I knew I was taking this risk, that I've got a perfectly good stack of troops that are in that hex now, but having moved in, I may become disordered by getting op fired, in which case everyone's disordered.
Yeah.
So just one of those things. So I believe this guy's a 27, so I'm looking for a 32 or better in order to pass, and I don't.
Ooh, 26. Are you sure?
I'll flip him back over just to make sure.
Oh yeah, you're right. So
I think the 20 was. Oh, excuse me.
you
Whoops.
spoke it into existence. Well, this is good. This will kind
Oh,
of demonstrate the
that's the whole point, right?
chaos and of what's
Right.
happening here. So
So
the
I
whole
think
stack now is
this
disordered.
guy down here was the 20. That's
Oh yeah. That's the
yeah,
guy that's really brilliant.
right. All right. So so unfortunately that means now that the advantage I was trying to get was to have a stack of not disordered guys attacking your disordered guys.
Yeah.
And then I was going to have a substantial advantage because your strength points were going to be halved.
Yep.
So much goes that. Okay, good times. Well, whatever. All right. So now I will move these guys. 1, 2, 3, and they will finish right there. And then
Now I get an opportunity fire at you as you turn, don't I? In this hex.
Oh, so you do. Absolutely, you do. Yes. So
yeah. So I'll get another one-to-one shot there.
I was here.
Yep.
But because I did something in your opportunity fire range, in this case it was turning, you get a shot. It would be a 1-to-1 shot. Carry on.
If you just stayed where you were and not changed formation, I wouldn't have been able to shoot at you. But because you made a formation change, or you turned, or whatever, you basically spent a movement point there, it triggers it. So we've got another 1-to-1 shot here. Let's go ahead, chuck the dice, see what we get. A 0-2. Oh my gosh, we got another special thing. Let's see what that special results.
Oh, it's the same
Infantry.
one.
Same thing. Yeah. We're gonna have, my whole line is going to be disordered at this point.
Well, we need to do another leader.
Oh, it's another leader casualty. Okay.
Basically, all the even numbers have the star next to them. So roll a leader loss number.
All right, a single die. Let's see what we get. It is 6, which says, in the line of fire, roll for each enemy unit in or adjacent to the target hex. I don't believe there are any, so therefore we can disregard that.
Okay.
And what we're going to do instead is we're going to have we'll fire twice, and then those units are going to be disordered. Now, what happens if this guy's already disordered? Does he disorder again?
Well, usually you'll see it described there. In that case, we probably need to look in the rules here where they describe. This would be the Prague special rules, and we're talking about infantry fire combat results, and it says here free fire. There's an asterisk. It says an already disordered unit is marked with shaken and disorder.
Okay.
So that's the killer for you.
That is problematic indeed. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and do my shots and see if we can make it worth all the trouble. So first die roll is a 25. That's going to be a miss on the 1-to-1 chart. And the other one's a 32. That's also a miss. Ooh. So all of that for
big fat nothing.
Big fat nothing. Yeah. So that guy's disordered, and now this guy's going to be
more disorder, and then shaken and disordered.
Shaken and disordered. Yep.
Wow.
That's nuts. And you didn't do anything to me. That's all self-inflicted. as Grim was saying,
yes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got all excited, started jumping up and down, throwing their hats in the air.
That's
so. Okay, well, cool.
All right. Well, then I'm going to...
It's time for you to attack.
No, I'm not going to move Winterfeld up. I'm going to move him up. That's going to cost me 1. That's going to cost me 2. So he's going to be stacked with these yahoos here.
Okay.
And I still have the disordered guy that I could move, and I think I probably will. I will move him up 1, 2, like that.
Okay.
So now that's all the movement done. So now for the first time, we're going to do the close combat phase. And the close combat phase starts with, and in fact, I really wish I had the rules. And I'm walking away from the computer because I won't actually have the rules with me.
Rules? Who needs rules? This is a tutorial.
On the back of the rules is the sequence of play, and that's a tremendously helpful
Ah,
asset. And
yes.
as you're playing, as you're trying to get the hang of it, it's great to have the sequence of play with you, so you could just make sure you're doing things in the right order. And in the close combat phase, that's really where it matters. So, in the close combat segment, the first step is attacker designation. So the attacker needs to specify what units are going to try to do close combat. And so once you've identified who those are, then you do attacker morale checks. Each unit, or each stack, I should say, needs to do a morale check to confirm that they're feeling vigorous enough to go in and attack the enemy. And then if you're doing cavalry charges, you do those. But then once you've actually done all the morale checks, you're going to have guys who either passed, in which case they are going to do combat, or they become shaken because they failed their morale check. People who become shaken at this point don't actually conduct an attack. They just stand there adjacent to the enemy, shaken and vulnerable to counterattack. Then only once you've determined who's really going in, then you designate individual combats, and then you exercise each one of those. So let's do that first step. I'm going to go ahead and, just for the entertainment value of it all, I'm going to do all three of these stacks here are going to attempt to engage in close combat, and doesn't really matter what order I do it in, but I'm going to go ahead and do the morale check starting up here. There, we should look at the morale check table
Sure.
because it's
So
not
this
something
is
we've
going to
had to do.
be morale summary. Yep.
That's right, morale summary. And what we're doing is a type B morale check, which is a pre-close combat morale check. If I fail, I'm shaken, and then I don't have close combat. The defender will have to do a pre-close combat morale check as well. And there's a table at the bottom to tell you about any modifiers.
Right.
You'll look on
So if we look
column
down,
B.
yep, column B. So if there were 50% losses, there'd be a +10 to the roll, disorder +5, shaken +10. Obviously, if they're routed, you're not doing anything. General order +5, road march column, attack column -5, square -10, supported line or hook -10, outflanked. So we've got some different modifiers here. As far as for this particular guy, I don't know that he's got anything
No,
that's going to be modifying him.
there won't be.
Yeah,
So we're just going to roll straight up, and it's going to be just he needs to roll better than his effectiveness rating. We're going to roll and see what we get. Okay, well, we
59.
know
So
his
he's good.
effectiveness rating is way lower than 59, so he's going in. That's looking good. Now, the next guy down the row here is subject to the supported line modifier. So he's got a -10 to his effectiveness rating when he rolls. And so I'm going to go ahead and roll for him as well. So
is it a
just
case
so
where we're adding this to the die roll, or we are subtracting it from his effectiveness rating?
you're really subtracting it from his effectiveness rating.
Okay.
Remember, low effectiveness ratings are good
Yep.
because you're always trying to
So
roll higher than that. So
yeah.
it's
So a
kind of funny to
-10.
think
So
about
say,
a
for example,
-10
yeah,
as being a good thing, but a
yeah,
-10 is a good thing.
yeah. In this case, his effectiveness rating is for this die roll, it's an 11.
Exactly. And I rolled a
So
44.
yeah.
So
Okay, so
he's
he's going in. So we're going to mark
going in.
him for close combat. Okay.
Now, the last column here, the last stack here, there are a couple of modifiers we need to think about.
Yep.
One of them is that the Winterfeld's with them. And so
Right.
we're going to have to see how much Winterfeld affects it. The other is that they're disordered. If you look on that table, you'll see that disorder causes a +5 modifier to your effectiveness rating. So I'm just going to flip Winterfeld over. He's a -5. So
Puts a
basically
wash.
just washes
Yeah.
out. So it'll be just a straight up die roll for the top unit in the stack. Okay.
93. They're happy.
He's going
They're
in
going
too.
in too.
All right. Well, that's kind of fun. So it's, I got something to show for my efforts.
There
Well,
we
we'll
go.
see. We'll see about that in a few minutes. We're going to find out that's not true at all. So now we move to step D, which is individual combat designations. And individual combat designations are where I say who's attacking who. Now, everybody who's in one of my zones of control has to get attacked.
Right.
So I'm going to say that this stack is going to attack both of these stacks.
Okay.
This stack is going to attack this one. This stack is going to attack this one. So all the defenders are getting attacked, and all the attackers are attacking,
Somebody
the
that's
people
in
who are
their
in front of them.
front facing. Yep.
Now, at this point, we then stop doing things like on a per side basis. Now we're just going to go in and do one individual close combat before we proceed to the next one.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the most entertaining one. That's the one down here at the bottom. And so we'll start talking about how we conduct close combat. The first thing we need to do is the defender units need to do a morale check. And so each of the two stacks needs to do a morale check. And
Okay.
of course, each of them is going to get a modifier for being shaken, for being disordered.
Ordered.
One of them is going to get a modifier for being shaken. Neither of them, wait a minute. Let's take a look at this. I want to make sure I got this right. Supported line actually depends on the people on either side of you not being shaken. A line formation is supported when each of its flank hexes contains either a friendly unit that is neither shaken nor routed or non-clear terrain. Okay. So that's interesting. So strangely enough, this guy
will get the
is in a
benefit
supported
of
line.
a supported line. Yeah.
On the other hand, he's shaken.
Yeah.
But this guy isn't in a supported line. On the other hand, he's not shaken. So we'll have to
Right.
do all those calculations. Which one do you want to roll first?
Let's do the guy that's shaken and disordered first, see what we get for
Okay.
him. So
All right.
we're looking at, he doesn't have any losses yet. He's disordered, which is a +5.
+5.
He's shaken, which is a +10. So we're up to +15.
That's right.
We go down to supported line or hook, which is a -10. So we're just at a +5 altogether.
That's right.
And there's no terrain effects or anything like that. There's no leader modifier.
No leader. So
we're just going to go ahead and chuck the dice and see what we get. We roll a 46, and these guys are grenadiers. They should be pretty good.
They're probably really good, but we should just take a look just because we haven't really looked at your guys.
Yeah. He's an 18. Oh, yeah.
18. Okay, so you needed to roll a 23 or better.
Yeah.
You doubled 23. So he's staying.
Yep. Now, this chap here is going to just have the +5 for being disordered. He doesn't have any other modifiers. So let's go ahead and chuck the dice for him. Oh, 13.
Oh, no.
So, and I don't think he is a 13.
He's probably an 18 also, I'm guessing. But
yep, he's an 18 also. Yeah.
So he becomes shaken.
He does. So we're going to go ahead and change that. And let's increase it. Shaken and disordered. So now all those guys, they were all excited, shooting at you. They shot so much, they deafened themselves. Maybe their friendly fire took out their own NCOs. It's chaos in the ranks there.
People they owed money to got shot mysteriously in the back.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. So that's a mess.
It is a mess, but it should make things a lot of fun for us.
Oh, it'll definitely make it more entertaining for me at least. All right. So then next we would do defensive fire. Defensive fire is a little bit like opportunity fire in that it's the defender doing the shooting. And there are a couple of ways it's different. But let's just go ahead and tally things up. So each of your hexes is disordered. So you can only fire 2 strength points out of each of those hexes for a total of then 4 together.
Correct.
What's your fire multiplier at?
Multiplier is 4. So we're going to
Okay.
be 4 times 4 is going to be 16. So
Going to
we're
be one
on.
and a
So it's
half to
one
one.
and a half to one.
Okay. All right.
There are no other modifiers,
Uh,
or no, there is
oh
because
yeah,
you've got,
there are a couple
I
of
think,
them.
what, 9 increments in that hex?
I think there's 9 increments. That's going to give you a plus 10, I think, right?
That's correct, plus 10. And then it's
And
defensive
then
fire, right?
defensive fire. Now, why is defensive fire different there? You get a plus 20 modifier to defensive fire if infantry is who's attacking you. You
Yep.
get a plus 10 if cavalry is attacking you. And the idea is because, hey, you're going to wait till the enemy gets really close, and then you're going to let loose out of them at a very close range. So it's going to be a total of plus 30 at 1 to 1. Oh, one and
No,
a
it
half to
said
one.
1.5 to 1. Yeah.
One and
So
a half
let's
to
roll
one.
the
Yeah.
dice, see what we get. A 42 becomes a 72.
Right.
So a 72 is a hit, a disorder check, and a morale check because it was an even numbered die
And
roll.
it was a 42. So it is all of the above. The top unit always takes the losses from fire combat. And so I'm going to go ahead and increase him to 2 increment losses, 2 strength point losses. And then I'm going to do the disorder check next.
Right. It's a +5 for being disordered, but a -5 for Winterfeld. So 0 on that. So just roll your dice, see what you get.
That's right. There we go.
And
Okay,
that's good. And then you make
51.
your.
That's going to be good enough. And then we need to do a morale check. The morale check's also going to be +5 for being disordered, -5 for Winterfeld. So we'll just see how that goes.
Oh.
I think both armies should just slink home in shame.
Yeah. This is pretty sad. Winter. So now they are shaken
They are
and
now
disordered.
shaken and disordered. However, and in some ways, this is really great. I'm glad that this is happening because
Yeah.
it's absurd, but it illustrates some things. If these guys had failed their pre-close combat morale check, there is no close combat for them.
Right.
However, they have passed that. They got in close. And now there is going to be close combat.
Yeah. They got in close and we shot them in the face, and we're still coming in bayonets at each other. So,
and you
oh my
remember the
gosh.
old
Yeah.
scenario was that I'm going to attack these guys because I got this big advantage because they're disordered and I'm not. Oops, I'm disordered. Well, okay, but at least they're shaken. Oops, now I'm shaken. So basically, I got no advantages at all.
Yeah. Welcome to B.A.R.
Yeah. Welcome to B.A.R.
where
Wow.
if things look like it's too good to be true, they're not going to be too good anymore. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The wheels come off the bus real fast.
So now it's finally time to do close combat resolution. And there's really 2 different things you need to figure out. One of them is just what are the base odds of strength points?
Right.
So I've still got 4, 8. I've got 8, and I guess you've got 16, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But they were halved because we're disordered.
They were halved, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to be a little more careful there. So yeah, so really I've got what? 4, and you've got 8. So it's still the same thing, but it's 1 to 2 are going to be the base odds. Now we're going to have to figure out die roll modifiers. And the die roll modifiers you'll see, I hope you've called up the close combat chart because it's got die roll modifiers on there that are of potential interest.
Well, I thought we could flip over the guys too, because that's
of
we
course.
usually do is look at the backs of the units to see what the situation is. So my 2 infantry units are +4s. And your guys are +4s, and then you've got Winterfeld who adds another +2.
Right. So the way this works is that each stack needs to have its own combat value assessed. Now, it turns out that your combat values are the same.
Yep.
So it kind of doesn't matter. But you're right. So you had a +4 for your printed value, -5 for being shaken. So actually, you've got a combat value of -1 on each of those. And then you average them together. -1 is what it is.
Yep.
And then on my side, I'm just basically the same. It's +4, -5, but then +2.
Right. So it's
So
a net of +1 in for you at a -1 for me. So the
right.
net difference is going to be a +2 on your die roll, correct?
That's right. That's
Yep.
exactly right. So we're going to roll on the 1 to 2 column, and again, just by convention, we just go ahead and hit the blue red die button at the top, and we will add 2 to the blue die, and then compare them and see what we get on the combat results chart. Here we go.
Oh, that's a good
Uh-oh,
roll for the
I can't believe I'm
Prussians.
going to get away with this. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So what is that? It's so if I add 2 to that,
So
that makes
you're
it
going to
a
be on the
7.
7, right? So 1 to 2. So that's going to be a 1 uh, hit and disorder for the attacker, and 1 loss and rout for the defender.
Okay, so 1D, 1R.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So first things first, we take the strength point hits. And in the case of the strength point hits, of course, you've got 2 units. They're both the same size. You can take the hit on either one. It's your choice. In my
Okay.
case, I've got 2 units that are each 4 strength points in size. So
Right.
again, I have the choice, and I'll take it on the one who's on the bottom of the stack. And your guys are going to rout away, and that means they need to retreat to the rear 4
4.
hexes.
Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. And you'll notice I haven't done anything yet because I'm actually checking something because this is so ridiculous. Some results require that the winning side's units be disordered. This is not a disorder check, but an automatic disorder. If the unit is already disordered, it becomes shaken and disordered. Okay, but it makes no mention of shaken and disordered leading to rout. That's what I
Okay.
wanted to check.
Yeah, because you guys are already shaken and disordered.
Exactly. So depends on the
Getting a
circumstance.
D result would we both route away from each other.
Exactly. Wouldn't that be just what we deserve?
That would
So
be fun.
okay, well that was entertaining.
That was.
All right, so I have to advance
Yep.
with at least 1 unit into at least one of those hexes. I am not sure what I want to do. Let me. This is unusual that I attack 2 hexes, so I'm actually going to double check in the rules and make sure that I understand what my obligations are. If the defender vacate, if there are multiple vacated hexes, the attacking units are not required to occupy every vacated hex. The number of units that advance is up to the owning player, but at least one must advance, and that one must be the unit that was used for the close combat, pre-close combat morale check. Okay, all right. So, you know what? I am going to go ahead and advance them both in because why not? So I'm going to advance.
Well, aren't those 2 are objective hexes, right?
Well, first of all, they're objective hexes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But it's not just that. It's that I want to get in on your flank.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, particularly on that hex there, right? Because we haven't done the combat, so I have to make a morale check for this
exactly.
guy. So if you
Exactly.
advance there, I'm going to have a penalty on my
So
morale check having somebody in my
exactly.
flank. Yeah.
Right. So first things first. So I'm going to go ahead and do this both ways. So both of them are going to move into the hex, and I think I'll move Winterfeld in with that. I also need to mark this guy as shaken and disordered. But because they're not in an enemy zone of control, because they're not,
Right.
they get to change their facing. And so each of them will change the facing to be facing into the flank of your other guys.
Right.
That was the cunning plan there.
So you snatched victory from the clutches of
Oh boy,
defeat
did I!
everywhere. Yeah.
I did everything I could think of to screw that up, but it managed to win anyway. Okay, all right. So I will choose that we'll move on to the next battle. That'll be this one here,
Right.
and
And the
so
reason you're doing that one is the hope that if this goes badly and this guy advances, then I'll have the penalty here. And you're just kind of like, the idea is you're rolling up the
just
line
trying to
kind of a
roll up
thing.
the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's going to be a couple of effects um, of
Right. So
this
this is the
of
morale
this guy
summary.
being
Yep.
here.
Yep.
And the first one is we're going to do the defender morale check here, and the defender's morale is going to be raised by 10. So his effectiveness rating is going to be plus 10 because there's someone in his flank.
Right. That's down there. That's the outflanked
That's right.
mention there. Okay. But I have a leader in that hex, don't I?
Absolutely. So it's
I do.
-4 for the
4.
leader. So it's a total of +6.
Okay. Let's see if the Austrians can live up to their reputation of bringing disaster upon themselves. Oh, we actually
Okay.
passed. Oh,
It's worth a
sorry.
try.
Well, I'll do better next time. I'll keep rolling. Keep
Okay.
rolling until.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after that, we would do defensive fire.
Yep. And so in this case, I've got the full weight of the force there. So I've got
That's right.
4
You've got 4
increments. I can
strength
fire 4
points.
strength points times 4.
4. So one
So
and
that's
a
going to
half
be,
to 1.
yep. And I will
And it's going
have
to
a
be
plus 20.
20.
Yep. So we can go over to our handy dandy chart, bring that up so everyone can see at home. And here we go. Let's roll. Ah, a
Oh,
13. That's
my.
terrible. So plus 20, that's going to be a 33.
33. That's going to be
At
nothing.
1.5 to 1, that is nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
That is so sad.
Man.
You got lucky. The Prussians are getting very lucky here.
Yes, I am.
I tell you.
Let there be no doubt. We'll
Yeah.
see how long that goes on, but whatever. They're having fun. Okay, so I withstood the defensive fire. So now it's time for close combat resolution. I got 5 strength points. You've got 8. That's
Yep.
going to be 1 to 2 again.
Right.
And this time I've got +5 as my base value.
And I am +4, and then I've got another +2 for Gausko. So I got a +6 altogether.
However,
I got somebody in my flank, right?
because you've got those guys in your flank, there is what they call a passive enfilade. The idea behind it is that there's someone who's not directly participating in this combat, but who's facing into your flank. It's impossible for your guys to ignore, and so it's -3. So you've got 6, -3 makes it 3.
Yep.
And I got 5. So it's again 1 to 2 +2 for the attackers.
So why is it 1 to 2 instead of 1 to 1.5? How many do you have again?
5, because he took a hit.
Oh, okay.
He took a hit like during the opportunity fire movement in there.
Okay.
So
No worries. Yeah.
if
So
you
1
think
to 2
about
with
it,
a +2. Yeah.
if I had 6,
Yeah. If you had 6, it would be 1 to
6 would be
1.5. Yeah.
1 to 1.5. Yeah. So this is going to be 1 to 2. It's going to be 1 to 2 +2. I'd be a lot more scared, except for the fact that the last one was 1 to 2 +2. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh no.
Ooh, 69.
Didn't go that way this time.
So it's going to be the net difference of the die roll is -3, but with your +2, it just becomes a -1.
All right. What do we get there?
Yep. So for that, the result is for the attackers, you lose 1 and you rout.
Okay.
And for the defenders, you lose 1 and you're disordered.
Okay. All right. So take that strength point loss and then modify the morale state accordingly. And we go to routed. There we go, routed. And I run back 4 hexes to the rear. If you were cavalry defending in close combat and you saw the attackers off, you would have to advance into my hex. But because you're
Right.
infantry, you don't get to. So you
Yeah.
stay in the hex, having taken 1 loss, and you're disordered. Okay, we go to the next and final battle.
All right. So for this one, we are going to roll, but we're in a supported line. So we're modified by a minus 10.
Minus
So
10.
let's
Yep.
chuck the dice, see what we get. It's a
Yeah.
good thing we've got that modification.
It sure helps.
18.
Yep.
So as long as we rolled better than an 8,
Right.
we'd be
It's going to
fine.
be
So we
very
managed
hard
to
to
do
fail
that.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, unless you
Okay.
rolled a 0 or something, got a special result.
You'd have
All right,
needed a
so
special
now we're going to
result,
shoot
yeah.
back at you. We're going to have our 16 to 10, so it's 1.5 to 1, plus 20 for the defensive fire.
That's right.
So we just go ahead and check our dice, see what we get. And 81 becomes 101.
That's not good.
So that is going to be 2
hits.
dead.
Yeah.
And a disorder check, but no morale check because it's an odd die roll.
Exactly.
So it's a 2D.
So 2 and then a disorder check. And so I'll roll that disorder check. Don't think there are any modifiers on it. We'll just roll. All right, we're okay there. Okay, so that's so it's going to be 1 to 2 again, surprising no one.
Yep.
And in this case, it looks like it's going to be 1 to 2 with no die roll modifiers at all.
Yeah, I've got a +4. You've got a +4.
Nobody's in anybody's flank. There's none of that foolishness going on. So 1 to 2 with no die roll modifier. That's not really great. I'm going to kind of be counting on the dice to bail me out from my poor choices in life. We'll see what we get. Nope, not today.
Nope. So that's going to end up being a net -4. So if you're looking at this at home, the first number on the die is considered the Prussian die. So that's a 2. The second one is a 4. So we subtract that. The difference is 2. And so that's going to be a -2. And so that's, once again, attacker loses 1 and routes. Defender loses 1 and disorders.
Okay. I can do that. I have the power. I have the technology. And then we'll go running back. 1, 2, 3, 4. And leave that really strong advance force up there, the shaken and disordered guys, to hold the line open.
Yeah, well, that's why you've got the other guys ready to come piling in.
What could possibly go wrong?
So let's imagine that we've done all the other activations in the turn. Everybody's done everywhere. Now let's go to the recovery phase, because now we got stuff that
the rally phase,
recovered.
yep.
The rally phase, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about that. So the first thing we do is, by convention, we just roll 2 dice and the high one goes first. So in this case, the Austrians would do their rallying first. Okay. And the way we do rallying is we take care of shaken units first, go from one end of the board to the other, and try to remove the shakenness from everybody. And then once you're finished with those, then you go to routed units. Now, do you have any shaken units left?
I do not. I've got some disordered people, but no shaken. Well, you saw off my shaken and disordered people.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Yeah.
So at this point, I just have the routed guys. So I would roll for them.
That's right.
And if we go back up to our handy dandy table for morale summary, this is a rally attempt. This is I believe. So if we're looking at this, we're looking at losses. We haven't had 50% losses. We're routed, so it's plus 15 to our effectiveness. We're not in an EZOC. So it looks like it's just going to be a plus 15 to our effectiveness rating. So we're just going to go ahead and roll some dice, see what we get. A 0-4.
Oh my. Okay.
Is
That
that a
wasn't.
special result, or I don't think?
There are no special
Yeah,
results
yeah, yeah.
for recoveries.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
this guy, because it's less than his, um,
Well, two things.
yeah,
One is he stays routed because he didn't roll a 33 or better.
yep,
Secondly, because he didn't even manage to roll his own printed value of 18, he not only routes, he also loses a strength point, and so he needs to run 4 more
yep.
hexes to the
1,
rear.
2, 3, 4.
Okay. And the
All
other
right.
one, probably
Next
going to be
chap. Let's
very
see if we can
similar.
be any better. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
63. Okay.
That's much better.
Right.
All
So
right. So
now he
he
goes from being routed to being shaken and
shaken
disordered,
and
correct?
disordered again.
Yep.
He can adopt any facing and any single hex formation. So, because he's still pretty close to the combat, it probably makes sense to do exactly what you just did.
Yep. Just keep
Just put
him in
him
line,
back in
facing
line,
away.
facing back
Yep.
towards the enemy, and hope that he can get unshaken and undisordered soon enough and get back into the fight. So that's it for you then, right?
Yep. Yep.
All right. And then we'll go ahead and do it for completeness sake here before we wrap up. I will go ahead and do the shaken units first. There's those two are shaken, and then I'm going to have some routed units I'll deal with later. I'll start with this one. Now, in this case, the unit is not half dead, and so he's going to have a plus 15 to plus 5 for being shaken,
Right.
plus 10 for being, excuse me, plus 10 for being shaken, plus 5 for being disordered. He's not in an enemy zone of control
He's adjacent, but he's
because
not. Yes,
he's
he's not in
facing the
one of
other
my
direction.
front-facing hex sides.
But it
Yes.
would be another plus 10 if he were in an enemy
Yeah.
zone of control. So plus 15, we'll see what we get. Okay.
Oh.
So that's no.
Yep.
So unlike routed, there's no downside to rolling terribly. You just still shaken.
Yeah.
Which isn't great, but that's life. Okay. Now we'll come up to this other unit, this one here. This one, again, he's not half dead. It's going to be plus 15 for being shaken and disordered, but minus 5 because Winterfeld is there. And so it's going to be plus 10. And again, he's not in an enemy zone of control. All right. So he recovers. And so he becomes no longer shaken. He is just disordered.
Disordered.
And
Right.
of course, when he activates, because Winterfeld is parked on top of him, the disorder is going to come off too. But we
Right.
got to wait till the next activation for that. And then we'll come up here. We'll do these guys here. They are, again, not half dead, but it is going to be plus 15 for being routed.
Yep.
It looks like I'm going
19.
to
Nope.
lose
Yeah, they're probably going to lose an increment and have to keep running away. Yeah.
and have to keep running. So there's 4 more. And then this last guy is half dead as he's
Right.
taken 3 losses out of his 6 original ones. And so he's going to be at plus 25. Going to need to roll a lot better here. And didn't.
Nope.
Let's take a look and make sure we know what his number is. Okay, he's a 24. So he rolled better than his printed value. So he doesn't lose a strength point, but he keeps routing.
Yep.
And so away he goes. And that takes us to the end of the rally phase. And then, and
We would
again,
advance
we
the
have
clock and then,
absolutely
yep.
jumped ahead by not doing the other
Yeah.
activations in the interest of getting this done before the bottom of the hour. But that's a couple of turns of Battles from the Age of Reason. The functions of how you determine initiative, how you determine who you activate, process of doing an activation from doing command control, disorder recovery, fire combat, close combat, and then once everything's done there, doing rallies, resetting the counters, and going back for another hour.
Yep.
I hope that worked.
I hope
that
so
was
too.
helpful.
Yeah, and if anybody has who's watching this after the fact, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section below for the video, and Michael and I will try to respond to you as quickly as we can, and mostly as accurately as we can. One other thing to keep in mind is We're going to be doing another one of these tutorials next Sunday. We'll be dealing with cavalry. So a
That's
lot
right.
of the stuff is very similar. So we might just gloss over some of the things that we've covered here.
We will.
But like the movement's the same, the activation of the leaders is the same.
Right.
Independent units and blah blah blah. A lot of that is the same. And where things differ is with the close combat. There's no fire combat, but instead you have some differences with how all that's done as well. So we'll
Cavalry
kind of get into
charges,
that.
counter
Yep.
charges.
Yep.
Good times.
So, yep. So we'll be doing that next week. And then, as I said, if you guys have any questions, you can do that. One other thing, if you are interested in the Battles of the Age of Reason, we have a very nice and very friendly Facebook group, which I believe is called, I want to say it's like Clash of Arms. Yes, Clash of Arms Battles from the Age of Reason is the name of the specific Facebook page. And so you can go there and just ask to be to join, and then the administrators will add you to it, provided you're not some weird Russian robot. And that's about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, Michael?
I don't know. Are we really that offended by weird Russian robots?
I don't know. It depends.
Okay.
Yeah, we might actually, that might double the number of subscribers that we have if we get those Russian robots to be there. So,
Absolutely.
all
No, I
right.
think that's it. And I sure hope everybody had a good time with it. I hope it was useful in terms of just kind of furthering your understanding of the system. And I'm looking forward to getting a chance to do it all again with cavalry next Sunday.
All right, everybody. Until our next episode, be well, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.